our current time, we find ourselves in an era where mass consumption is something that is normalized to and by society. But if we travel back in time, we can see that that was not always the case. In the 1900s, the outfits women wore were complicated to make, hence the elevated prices. Therefore, creating and purchasing more clothes was something expensive, so people would only have a few clothes that they could afford to wear. Moving on to the era of mass production, garments became simpler to make, less elaborated. Bringing on a new era where producing was quicker, which eventually evolved into what we know today as fast fashion. Currently, we know the impact that fast fashion has in the environment, such as microfibers and chemical pollutions, overproduction and waste, which is only to name a few. But there's also less known problems that fast fashion brings on, such as unfair payment, due labor laws, in underdeveloped countries and exploitation by people from multinational corporations from the global north. Today we will explore fast fashion industry by presenting an informed debate on the pros and cons about it. To start the debate, I'm going to start with a question. What are the environmental impacts of fast fashion?
Well, my name is Andor, and I'm in favor of fast fashion. And to answer this question, there are actually a couple positive environmental impacts of fast fashion. Most importantly, they reduce the environmental impact by reducing the number of clothes people buy and the constancy they need to buy it. And also they can refurbish the clothes that are made and making less impact in the world.
Okay, so first of all, I need for you to imagine this big picture of the whole fashion industry. So in the world, the whole fashion industry is attributed like the 8% of the carbon emissions of the whole world. So if you think about it, it's a lot. So millions of tons of carbon dioxide, monoxide, and stuff like that. This whole impact is not just because of fast fashion. So if you have on one side clothes that are really expensive, but also contribute to this factor. For example, if you buy a pair of shoes from any designer that you want to think, Jimmy Choo, anything that is made out of leather, for example, it will have a huge carbon footprint behind it. So why you need to make something expensive and also like dumps a whole lot of waste, and you can make something accessible to people, affordable, and it's kind of the same footprint to this high-end stuff. So we will go through it.
Thank you.
In the following questions.
The team that's against fast fashion.
Well, not many people may be aware that approximately 2,700 and 700 liters of water are needed to produce a single cotton shirt, and 1,800 gallons of water are used to produce a single pair of jeans. Manufacturing and synthetic fiber require less water, though dyeing, like coloring your clothes with artificial colors, require 1.3 trillion gallons of water each year. In addition, dyeing processes usually involve more than 1,600 different chemicals, which is toxic because this includes many rare chemicals such as and other components such as mercury, lead, chlorine, all of these. It is said that treatment and dyeing of textile is accountable for 20% of global industry water pollution.
Although that may be true, that isn't only a problem in the fast fashion industry. That's a problem in fashion in general.
Yes, well, I do agree with you. You have a point there. But I think that maybe we should focus on that fashion produces the majority waste of water being equal to like growing all of these like cows for meat and everything. But I do believe that there can be a change in how many and how much water it is wasted in the fashion industry.
Thank you. We will continue to the next question. What role does the consumer behavior play in the fast fashion industry? How can individuals make more sustainable choices while still enjoying the benefits of affordable fashion?
I mean, the consumers play the most important role in the fashion industry since they shape the trends, the trends, the stores that are more popular, etc. And in today's day and age, most people unfortunately buy fast fashion, as I believe all of you do. And although consumers can or should support sustainable practices, it's more often than not that affordable, very expensive, and a huge segment of the market, especially here in Mexico, are, I guess, underprivileged people who cannot afford to buy more sustainable clothing, and fast fashion makes them, I guess, capable, or makes the possibility for them to express themselves at an affordable cost.
I agree with your point, but I believe individuals can make more sustainable choices by buying less and choosing quality over quantity. Because I believe that when you buy like a piece of clothing, like you buy like 3 pair of jeans that cost you like more money, but you use them more instead of like buying like ones from like cheap stores like Zara that like in 2 months they get like really soggy and you can use them, so it makes you like want to buy more because every time you get like that pair of jeans they got it.
That's true, but you're speaking from a point of privilege, because a lot of people cannot buy 3 pairs of jeans to swap and use, and a lot of people can only buy 1 pair of jeans from H&M or Zara a year.
But also the sustainable brands often prioritize fair labor practices and ethical working conditions for the employees, because the employees that make that type of fast fashion, they are always like suffering because of and they wear those things, but they like sometimes it can happen like in the pandemic, like some of the workers like on TikTok, it was all over TikTok, like they put on their clothes like help, and I believe they are also suffering, so I believe that they don't want that fast fashion.
I completely agree with you. In an ideal world, fast fashion wouldn't exist, but unfortunately we don't live in an ideal world. And fast fashion gives the opportunity for a lot of people to be able to actually afford clothes, because affordable or sustainable fashion, although it is better obviously, has a has a higher price point than fast fashion, making it impossible for a lot of people to buy it.
Thank you for these comments. We will gonna move on to our next subtopic of fast fashion, which is sweatshops. Are sweatshops an inevitable byproduct of globalization and the competitive nature of the global economy, or is it something that has always happened even before globalization?
So the concept of sweatshop has existed since, I think, 200 years. That's what I found. And it started in places like London or New York, that nowadays are like big cities that you don't expect like poor labor conditions to happen in. But that's where they began. Nowadays it's like a big thing in Asia and things like that. My main focus here is like, I want you to think that yes, fast fashion, it's prone to fall into this category. Not all of it. For example, H&M, it's a fast fashion brand and it has like this great way of knowing how the work is done, and it's one of the cleanest, I think. but at least they are trying to be transparent about the way that they work. But yes, sweatshops have existed since the whole, like before our great grandparents were born. And also, high-end brands rely on sweatshops to keep their production. So you can charge on fast fashion saying that quality fashion is better because it relies on time. So it's kind of the opposite.
Thank you.
Well, I believe sweatshops are often seen as a necessary evil in the fast fashion industry. They provide employment to people who otherwise have no job. I agree with you, but they also exploit workers and violate their human rights. Firstly, sweatshops workers are often paid very low wages and work long hours in dangerous conditions. And in the sweatshops, they usually put kids to work in small ages, and they're going against their human rights. Sweatshops also contribute to poverty and inequality in the developing world. The low wages that sweatshops workers earn are often not enough to support their families, so they are not contributing to a better world. And also, sweatshops are really bad for the environment. The production of clothing in sweatshops often involves the use of harmful chemicals and the production of a lot of waste. And yes, and also companies, the fast fashion companies go to unprivileged places so they can give work, but they are using most of their time not getting the enough working hours, and they are going against their human rights.
Thank you.
I completely agree with the problems of sweatshops. So I think sweatshops are very harmful. But as my partner said, they also affect the high-end fashion part of the industry. And thank you very much for bringing up the employment issue, I guess, because actually fast fashion makes up more than 40% of all retail work, boosting the economy of a lot of countries and giving employment to a lot of people that actually need it.
In the touch of this employment, do you think that sweatshops create a good by employing people to a never-ending industry, or do you think that fair pay and all of its consequences, such as higher prices in the sustainable fashion industry, is in need of a change?
I believe, first of all, I think that was a leading question, but okay. Of course, sweatshops aren't good. As people have pointed out, they have very bad working conditions, bad working hours, and they should be abolished. But I guess it's not justification, but in a capitalist society such as ours, I think people were bound to create a model like this. Of course, it's not good. Of course, it shouldn't exist. But the infinite pursuit of wealth has pushed these people to create this unhealthy and bad environment. And yeah.
Well, I agree with you because it has been globalization and all of that, globalization and what it consists of, capitalism and everything has been essential, yes, to build the structure that we have today and all of the advantages we have right now. But I think we can work towards having a more open system kind of structure, all these companies can start focusing on not just how much they make, because yes, they make tons of money, but what it costs. Do the workers, do the people behind the work get paid equally? Do they have good working conditions? So yes, I think it's very important to address this situation, and I think it is gonna be hard, but it's not impossible. I'm not saying that it's gonna be 100% possible to adjust right now to all these changes we want to make, and like the whole like people who are conscious want to make. But I think we can work towards it.
And also, like sweatshops, like the workers have, like they can be leading like to a lot of stress, and like their mental health and all their healthy lifestyle is gonna be denied. And I believe that yes, they have like a place to work, but I think if like all the governments and like the countries contribute to better education, better lifestyles, and like better, like if you have a good education, we can like promote having like more work and sustainable work instead of going like to low wages of work.
I completely agree. Again, in an ideal society, all people would be educated, all countries would work together to make better opportunities for everyone. But unfortunately, we live in a very divided society right now, where I don't see any governments making any sacrifices. If not the governments of the country, other governments much less. But yeah, I agree that in an ideal society, sweatshops wouldn't exist. Everybody would have sustainable work and good wages, good hours. But at this point in time, I believe that is impossible. If you think it is not, please.
Well, I believe that like the sweatshops are not really reducing like if you said like poverty because they're getting money. I believe that it's creating a more inequality like in the developing of the world. And like yes, I believe that people like the people that are working like on the sweatshops and the creators of the sweatshops, I think they can create like as you said, you can like it's unrealistic to say, but I believe that every like if we take a step by step, we can create like for a better like place to work instead of putting all the people on a daily basis of crisis at their work. And I think it's really important for the human rights to be placed instead of just like saying like, well, yeah, but it's just their bad.
I think, well, I was just thinking that now, like, yes, now that I think about it, yes, it is possible because now there is like a trend in like the business segment, in like every business segment that is about like being socially responsible, which means that you have more acceptance from all the public, all your customers, and you also have good practices outside and inside the work involving like all the stakeholders. So I do think there is a big chance that this problem can be eradicated and fixed.
Thank you. Moving on to our next topic, the contamination that the fast fashion industry brings. So 20% of the global waste of water is attributed to fashion. So how can the fashion industry, both fast fashion and sustainable fashion, improve this problem?
So I will be speaking as an engineer. Every problem has a solution if you work hard enough to earn that solution. In this case, working hard enough is spending money, energy, and resources to, for example, be able to reuse that water, to clean it enough that you can run it again. But then you run into the paradox because you are spending more energy, so you are polluting more, like your carbon emissions build up, and your water consumption may not be greatly affected. So it's kind of tough, but I mean, what can we do?
Thank you.
I agree with you. I do believe that this process you're talking about involves many like financing, that can build up to having higher, like even higher rates for clothing. But I think that with like the quick production methods of the fashion industry, the sector is also capable of making a significant and a rapid improvement, which could help to reduce the climate crisis that the planet is facing. No single country or company can drive the change alone. The entire supply chain must change to work in tandem to reduce energy use and stop polluted water from being dumped into rivers and discarded. So I think it could take also a huge amount of investment to begin with, but as if it becomes a usual practice, I believe that all the companies will be forced to implement these like clean practices, and the prices will go down.
Thank you. To sum up what we just heard in our debate, we can see that fast fashion and sustainable fashion is an industry that both have pros and cons, but we can what exceeds about it is that both the fashion industry, that's fast fashion, and the sustainable fashion industry have a similar carbon footprint. The only difference in that both make is the generation of waste with the consumption needed, because as we heard from the fast fashion team, the fast fashion industry does have a lot of need to get new products due to the low quality of the products. But from the sustainable fashion team, we learned that it is better to invest. Well, we also learned it from the fast fashion team, but it is better to invest in more quality piece than to start buying things at a more rapid rate because of the low quality of it. And we can also attribute and think about our own consumption habits in the world and our carbon footprint due to our mass consumption.
Thank you. I want to ask one question first.
Yes.
Are you guys in the right team?
Yes.
Yes.
You're in that position personally?
Yeah.
No. Like we we just decided like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm in
Okay.
favor.
No, it was not
So
our
this is a
choice.
stage?
Yeah.
This is a
Yes.
post?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not,
It's just
this is
on
not your
the
personal
purpose.
opinion,
No.
both of you?
Well, yeah,
No,
I'm
the-
against fast fashion.
Okay, so you are kind of like in the right place.
Yes, I'm in the right.
I believe I should be, like, I'm against, but I'm not doing, like, I don't really buy, like, all my like, my whole wardrobe is not, like, sustainable fashion.
Okay.
So, I do have these pants are from Zara, so.
Okay.
I
I mean, I just wanted to understand, like, I was just curious. Andor,
I mean,
you are in the right place, right?
I don't think I lied. Of course, I don't support fast fashion, but I think everything that I said was, I
A
guess.
good argument.
No, it is.
Yeah, I guess it was an argument, but I am ultimately against fast fashion.
Okay.
It's kind of tough. I'm kind of in the right spot because I hate like fast fashion, but but in the quality point of view, and also I hate people that are like, fast fashion sucks and it's the devil, and they are like,
Fast fashion addicts.
no, so that's kind of like, you buy, for example, a really expensive bag, handbag. So you are polluting way more than like things made of fabric and than leathers. And I mean, I'm kind of in the right spot because I hate people that hate something and they.
You don't hate anything.
I think well, we didn't have enough time to discuss the other points, but we were also going to talk about the sustainability, about upcycling and thrifting,
Okay.
because I think that that's a very good solution to the problem that we're facing right now. Not thrifting in itself, because there's a lot of thrifting that has also an environmental impact because not everything gets bought. But upcycling, which is like getting things from the thrift store and making it your own and changing it and altering it, is a good
Practice.
trend and practice to make. Like there was on TikTok a trend about denim skirts. So you would go to like the thrift store and buy like super huge denim, and then cut it up and create like a cool skirt with the denim that you bought. And also denim is super contaminateful, so it was a more sustainable practice.
Yes, and I also believe that, like, I'm in the middle of it. Like, I'm against fast fashion in the way that about like how the people that work there are having like a really bad time while they work there. But I also believe that like it's not eliminating by it's like by cutting it off. But I believe that it would be like a better impact if we reduce the demand of it by reducing like the supplies they have, like it making it more cost to buy that type of fabric that they use, and by that they can reduce their demand. And yes, because I believe that, I don't know, if we could have like if everyone could have make a change like by saying like I'm not gonna buy like that much, and like reducing their type of products, and like, well, yes, I also agree that sometimes like all the more like if like I don't know how to say it, but like a more overpriced product can also lead to a fast fashion industry. Like I don't know. I believe that Lululemon also has like a fast fashion, and they have like a really overpriced products. But I think that's why people also buy it, because they think, oh well, it's more overpriced, so I believe they don't contaminate. But I think they really do.
Yeah, but it's like all of these brands that have like, for example, Old Navy. I mean,
Yeah.
they have 4 brands,
Like siblings.
so they cover everything. They contaminate everyone.
Yeah.
That also, yes.
I believe most people would agree I would agree with my position. I think nobody wants to like fast fashion. Everybody wants to hate fast fashion, but ultimately,
Who's not wearing fast fashion? right
exactly.
Teacher, I think that I used to think that fast fashion would like eradicate itself if we implemented like the right labor laws. But I don't
now? The
think
lawyer, I love it.
I don't think that by implementing just the labor laws that like the impact will change, because in the sense of like, well, an appropriate payment, if a country like reforms, like if Mexico would reform our labor laws, because it's just that I took Derecho Laboral this semester, but if we like reformed our laws, which we have, there's a lot of other countries in undeveloped parts of the world that would love to have like the payment. But also if we give like the salario mínimo a higher salario, that like the prices would just round up, so it would not do any difference to make them earn more money if the money is less valuable.
We're doomed.
Actually, it is bad for the economic market as well, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously, a lot of fast fashion brands are like imported. So
Yeah, they're offshore.
yeah, so buying from our local market will like also shift our consuming like,
Prices.
no sé si
Habits.
sé como nuestro, o sea, cambiar a un mercado local va a cambiar nuestros como ritmos de consumo. Y entonces obviamente dejamos de consumir muchas de las marcas que son importadas, como H&M, Zara, Shein. Y o sea, se me hace súper raro que ya hay tiendas grandes de Shein, o sea, ya hay tiendas de Shein.
Sí, no,
Cuando
sí.
podrías optar por cosas locales que hasta son del mismo precio, más baratas, y es apoyando al mercado local. O sea,
Shane is like, I like one time I ordered from Shane, and it's like I don't know, like
Es un trapo.
Es un trapo.
Es un trapo. O sea, no está
I'm
padre nada.
guilty.
Yeah, in pandemic I felt
Sí.
it.
And the worst thing is that you do it once and you're like, this is crap. But the next time you look at it again, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get this one. And then you're like, oh my god, I forgot it's crap.
Yeah, it's crap.
Like,
It's 50 pesos. How can
Yeah.
that run away
es
from
más, el
you?
otro día con el arquitecto, ¿no? Ay, aquí no sé qué. Bueno, vamos a comprar unas chapas digitales para la casa. Me dice, no, pues yo ordené no sé qué, nunca llegó, pero pues bueno, me costó whatever. Y yo, like, imagine, right? Like you're sending your money and you're like, ah, it was only like 150 pesos, so who cares? And I'm like, imagine if 1,000 people think that way. Like these businesses are crap.
yes.
No, like Alibaba, that you buy like in mayoreo and they arrive like 2 years later. And it's like nothing that you bought.
El Sebas el otro día, que soy empresario. I was like, dude, he was like, no, ordené no sé qué, Alibaba me va a llegar, voy a venderlo así, así, así. Soy un empresario. Y yo,
Ya quiero ver que el SAT le marca así de, oye,
Estamos
tenemos un paquete en
piramidales.
aduana.
No, deja tú, oye, ¿por
Tienes
qué
que
te
pagar.
llegó? ¿Por qué te llegó de la nada tanto
que te
dinero?
llegaron 2,000 paquetes.
No, deja tú eso, porque o sea, cuando compras así en bulk, en la aduana te retienen, ven el valor de la factura y es, órale, paga IVA,
12
paga
pesos.
todo.
El Sebas, este es malo.
I don't know how like all the Chinese people like in China do like all this stuff like you can see like in Alibaba like for like a really like small price
Yeah, it's
Like all
imagine the costs.
yeah.
Like they need to absorb the cost physically, and then the environment absorbs the cost too. Like that's a tragedy. Like if we think about it, it's just tragic.
Like they have a like their creative minds as well, but like it's really impressive like how much they can lower their costs and will not pay like for their valuable time because I believe they take a lot of time to make all their products.
Yeah, we don't realize it
Es como
until
fast fashion.
Sí.
Entonces,
we don't realize it because we don't see it, and they don't see it either, right? I remember when I have a cousin who lives in Germany. He has 4 kids, so every time he has a child, the mom has 1 year off, and he has 6 months off. So I'm like, dude, you haven't worked in like